will be recorded. It will be recorded. It will be shared on social media. It will, no, I'm sorry. No. I've got case law countering what you're saying about stipulating rules. Okay, you just triggered me. Rules don't supersede rights. Rights, okay? We'll park that. We can talk about it later if we have some time. You have to understand the difference. And I have case law to support exactly what I'm saying. Okay, so I will be recording. It will be shared on social media. It will be shared in our email. So just letting everybody know, this will, if you don't want to be visible, you can turn off your camera, and you can also change your name. And if anybody wants to change the name and doesn't know how, let me know and I can do it for you. I know some folks were struggling changing their changing the name. So if you want to change your name and you don't know how to, just put your hand up or say hello and I can do that for you. And I'll just give folks a couple of minutes to do that while I continue on with some other general housekeeping rules. So we ask that everybody remain muted. Everybody does come into the meeting muted. So we ask that you keep yourself muted. We're going to run through a present JLPPR. Did you want your name changed? I see your hand up. You can unmute. Okay.
Yes, I would, because it's against my release orders to take part in anything.
Oh, geez. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay, what would you like your name to be? Pick your favorite name.
How about Unicorn?
Unicorn, love it.
Feature.
Okay, you're Unicorn. All right. So do remain muted. The chat box is open. The chat is over on the right-hand side. So feel free to talk amongst yourselves during the presentation. I do ask that you please keep it focused on what we're talking about so that people don't get distracted as to what the message is tonight. And on that note, I'm going to hit the record button now.
Okay, and one more thing, I'm going to make it
This
clear to
meeting is
everyone,
being
if there's
recorded.
any misconduct by anyone, you will be removed quickly and without question. Done. Okay, no misconduct in the chat, no misconduct by interrupting anyone speaking, or we will remove you.
Yeah. Okay, great. Thanks, Amanda. And thank you for raising that, guys. We have zero tolerance for abuse of anyone in this room, including myself and Amanda. We are all here giving our time to bring this information to you. We are not on a salary. We do this out of the goodness of our hearts. And the people in this room came here because they want to take something from today, and they don't want to hear from people that are in here that just want to be rude and belittle what we're doing. So if that's your interest today, I'll say thank you very much, and you can move on to somebody else's meeting who may be more tolerable. We have a zero tolerance policy here. If anybody is being rude to you in their private messaging you, or if you're having problems with private messages, you can private message Amanda, myself, even I'm sure Nick would be happy to help. And actually, Nick, I'll make you co-host too, because again, zero policy, and we've been having some issues with people because when you start making waves, they come after you. So I don't take offense to it. I think that means that we're doing a good job. And I will say thanks to everybody here too who's spreading the word. So thank you. Okay, guys, tonight we are talking about self-representation in the courts. So I know a lot of us ordinary citizens living our lives, going about our business, are suddenly now facing charges for violating the Reopening Ontario Act, protesting, maybe even a criminal charge has stemmed from that, which is probably ridiculous. Traveling, so violating the Quarantine Act. There's a lot of things that are happening now, and people are getting charged with various ridiculousness, and it's intimidating. I know Amanda, whom I may have referred to as a speed fiend in the past, has been to the court many times, so she is professional. But
okay, just so you guys know, she was driving with me, and she's like, "My God, you're slow."
I don't know why you have speeding tickets, but whatever. But it can be intimidating. Oh, we got to get that person. Did you find them, Amanda?
No, I didn't, but I'm watching now.
You know how to find them, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I've got the participants.
Now we know they're in here, so we'll get them out quickly. And anyway, so yeah, it can be intimidating going to court. And so we want to, the purpose of tonight's call is it's going to be a foundation. Okay, guys, we're going to do kind of an overview, a 101 of how to represent in the courts. We'll talk about the different levels of court. We'll talk about how to. Emotional, damn it! Emotional, damn it! Emotional, damn it! What an asshole! Yeah, he's gone now. Anyway, oh, that's why he asked if it was going to be recorded so they could hear himself putting shit on the Zoom. Whoa, that's exciting. No, it's not sound issue. You're having sound issues, Pagoda? Yeah, try coming out, leaving and coming back in. Okay, so we're going to talk about, again, the various levels of government. Guys, if you unmute, I'm just going to remove you. Like that. See how fast I am? Lightning fast. Lightning fast. So I suspect we're going to have some problems with this tonight. There's some people, again, who are being very disruptive. But again, I am damn fast with the removing of folks. So I'll be keeping an eye on things. I'm going to expand my visibility so I can be super lightning quick. You may get 2 seconds of playing your crappy music, and then you're going to be removed. So hey, knock yourself out. I'm like I said, I'm quick like a rabbit. And then we're going to talk about the steps of court. Like, you know, you'll have your first appearance, and then you go for your pretrial, and then you go for your trial or your case management. So we'll talk about that as well. And then we'll go over some etiquette and some basic rules for court. There's been a lot of issues with folks not following proper etiquette in the courtroom, and that can lead to a contempt charge. And if you do that, there's not a lot of saving grace for that. So we want to make sure that you guys know what to do, because when you're on Zoom, you kind of forget the formalities, but you are in a formal court proceeding. So you do have to, present yourself in a professional fashion, and, not have your music in the background, and, put yourself in a quiet space and go into it prepared, all of those things. And we'll talk about that. And then we do have we're working on updating our scripts. I realize they're a little bit, some of them are a little bit outdated as rules have changed. Imagine that. And so what we'll do is we'll go through some of the scripts that we do have available. Oh, and as soon as I go away and look away, they do that, and they're gone now too. See, it's like super quick. So what I'm going to do is, and actually, Amanda, why don't you just say a quick hello and let us know, let everyone know what you've done in terms of the courts, because you have more experience than I do.
Okay. Yeah. So I started educating myself on law, I'm going to say probably well over 12 years ago, no more than 15 years ago. I actually cannot remember specifically when. But I have self-represented myself several times in the courts, and I've even done a charter challenge. In the charter challenge, I was dealing with the Court of Justice. I had a bad, what do you call it? I had a bad justice of the peace who was constantly led by the prosecution. I did actually lose, but ended up winning in the appeal for so many errors in law that was committed by the court, and ultimately did win that case. So I take that knowledge now and do what I can to help support the group at Stand4THee.
Thank you. Yeah, and Amanda is very knowledgeable in the courtroom, which is awesome, because again, this is all new to me, and I'm not sure what's happened to Jane, but Jane has also been, Jane and Amanda have helped me tremendously in my court appearances. So I'm going to show you guys, I'm just going to publish something and then show you guys some stuff on the site. And then I'm also going to show you guys why it's so important to get your disclosure. And I'm actually going to show you one of my disclosures. And it's actually for one of my tickets. I think you guys may know that I have $26,000 in. So right now I have one summons for violating the Reopening Ontario Act, I have $26,000 in tickets for violating the Quarantine Act. I have a summons for the Quarantine Act. I have two bylaw infractions totaling $700. And now I have, like, holy shit, I'm saying all this. I'm like, I can't even believe this. This is ridiculous. And now I have a $65. I knew this guy was going to be a problem when I saw the name. Okay, there we go. Okay. All right, so I've got, now I have the $65 trespassing ticket. And do I look concerned about any of it? I'm not. Why? Because I've been learning how to do self-representation, understanding how to read my disclosure, where to find the loopholes, and also
just keep talking. I've got it.
Okay, it's already done. I knew this person was going to be a problem because they're using names they're actually using names from my Facebook group, so they're on our Facebook page. They must be on mine too. Anyway, so I've had to learn as I've been going along, and now, guys, if you guys have seen me on the calls, I get excited when I'm going to court. I'm like, I want to go to court. I want to go in there and I want to kick their butts. So I take a little bit of pride in that, and anyway. So I'm going to show you guys some stuff. I need Amanda to be in the room. Amanda, right. I'm going to be doing a screen share, so I need you to be here and keep an eye on this, on our group chat here, or on our Zoom. All right, so we made some updates on the site, and we've expanded on. I'm just going to show you guys. We've expanded on the travel script. Oops. And give me a second here. I think I didn't put this. Okay. Give me a moment. All right. Okay, can you guys see my screen? Self-representation 101. Amanda, you see that? Okay, great. Okay, so we're gonna give a little overview of.
Give me a second. I'm trying to find.
Okay. I'll listen. I got it. It's Samsung. I knew that person was going to be a problem. Samsung account, and I got them, and they're gone. So I would say these little assholes are really being a pain. But so you know how to look for them, Amanda?
I just have to screen up again.
Is you keep your participants open?
Yeah, I know it's open. It's just that I lost it when you did the screen share. I had to call it up again.
I got it.
Okay. So you keep the participants open, and as soon as you see someone starts going off, you look for an unmuted mic. It'll be right at the top. Thank you. Okay. So sorry about that, guys. It's a new thing, and we have to wait for them to fizzle out because they always do. So most of us are going to be here because we have provincial offenses tickets. Or we're going to have, like, these aren't criminal charges. Most people don't have criminal charges. There may be people who do have criminal charges, but most of us are here because they're either provincial offenses or they are, they're stemming from maybe violating the Quarantine Act. Okay. So, if it's municipal, if it's actually it's municipal and POA, Amanda, because I've never done municipal. Is that the same, or is it?
Yeah, it's under provincial offenses because municipal act falls under provincial. So municipal bylaw falls under the municipal act, which is provincial.
Perfect. So most of us here, we're going to be looking at provincial offenses. So, so whenever you get a ticket, your ticket is going to be issued in a municipality, in a town, And then what you're going to do is you're going to go to the city. So say, for example, I got a ticket for that person. You got a ticket for crossing over the Ambassador Bridge, violating the Quarantine Act. So then the city would be Windsor. So you would go to the city of Windsor, you would look up provincial offenses, and then you would do request a trial. So that is how you would handle these tickets. If it's a criminal offense, then that would be the courts of justice, which is different. We're not going to focus on that today. If there are people in here that have criminal charges, we can talk about that at the end. But we're going to focus mainly on provincial offenses because that's what most people are here for. Okay. And so what happens is you'll submit your ticket or submit your summons, whatever it is, through the online service. And I could show you one, but they're all different. Every province is going to have a different process, and the cities will have a different process. So it really varies city to city, but usually the navigation is pretty simple. You can even just type in Google search, like City of Windsor provincial offenses, and then I can actually just show you, just so you guys see what that looks like. I'll do I can spell it right. And then, so you go in here, provincial offenses, and then they're going to give you some information, and then you'll find somewhere in here, there'll be how to submit. So there's going to be an option to go to court somewhere down here, or maybe this isn't it. And I didn't do a very good job of showing you guys, but might be in POA forums, but you can request to go to trial, and that's what you're going to want to do. And also this is where you get disclosure. Actually, let's just take a minute to look at it. So these are POA forms. So you've got your transcript request form. That would be if you've gone to court and you want to get a copy of the transcripts. Appeals. So if you've gone to court, say you went to POA and you lost because for whatever reason you had a bad judgment, which does happen, but don't be dismayed if that happens, because one thing to note about POA, they're not justice of the peace. Justice of the peace are not legal professionals. They are individuals like you or me or anybody who applies to be a justice of the peace, and then they take training to become a justice of the peace. Okay, so it's a little bit different in POA. When you start moving into the higher courts, then there's more formalities and there's less opportunity for error or less opportunity for bad judgments. So when you're in the lower courts and you don't win, don't be dismayed. Actually look at that as an opportunity, because that means you can take it to Superior Court and if need be to Supreme Court, and where you can really kick some ass and you can create some really solid case law. So we can't really look at losses as, oh shit, we're screwed. It's like, okay, I didn't make it there, but I'm going to continue on. Okay, I'm going to continue on, and that's what you do. Okay, I am Concerned Canadian. You got yourself unmuted. Thank you. And I'm going to go back here because I didn't do a very good job of finding the request to trial. And then we'll talk about the court processes. So a lot of people, the first reaction that we have is to get a lawyer. That's what we believe is the right thing to do, and that's what we do kind of just out of habit. And so I'm just removing people who unmute. You're gone. So please be careful. I'm not even going to ask. I'm just removing people, and I'm damn fast. So request your disclosure. Okay. And then whether you choose to self-represent or whether you want a lawyer, what you're going to want to do, the first thing you're going to want to do is get your disclosure. Your disclosure is going to say a lot about how to present yourself and the information that you want to put forward. And the thing is that if you don't request your disclosure and you allow a lawyer to request your disclosure, then what's going to happen is that you may not be able to get the disclosure. The courts will not reissue it to you, and sometimes it can be a challenge to get it from a lawyer. So if you engage with a lawyer first and give the lawyer your disclosure, you may be out of luck. So the best thing that you can do for yourself get the disclosure, have a read through it, and then you can make a decision. Now, I'm going to stop screen sharing for a second because I'm going to show you my disclosure. If the Crown, so if the, okay, if the Crown delays providing you disclosure, then you address that in the court. So when you go into the court, then you tell the court, I requested my disclosure on X date and the Crown didn't give it to me. Call them right out in the court, and don't be afraid to do so. Okay, so I'm going to show you my disclosure for, I'd like to show you another one that's a real mess, and maybe I'll show you parts of it because unfortunately it has other people's names on it and I don't want to, I can't, it's too difficult to try and get rid of all of them because there's just too, it's a very large file. So I'm going to show you my latest disclosure from Officer Chelsea Huff, who charged me for violation. Exactly, you're looking for a couple of things. Number one, did they identify my charges correctly? Because sometimes they're not. And you guys can see my disclosure. It says Crown brief synopsis. You can see that now. Yeah. Is that a yay?
Yeah.
Can I get a yes? Okay. Thank you. So as you can see, it's provincial. It was OPP. Her name is here. This is her badge number and her name. And then this is what she's saying. This is the synopsis. So I came in through the Prescott crossing at 1:35 in the morning, or that's when she arrived, I should say. Oh shit, my birthday's on there. Damn it! 1 second. I don't want folks to see that. Shit. Thought I got them all. 1 second. Un momento, s'il vous plaît. I thought I was so careful in getting rid of all my information, and then there it is. I'll have to
redact it.
Out. Yeah. I was refusing to wear a mask. Actually, I have an exemption. Okay, so there's a typo in here now, but that's okay. 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 So she gives a synopsis of what happened. So she got a call from Border Services at the Johnstown Port of Entry. The complaint advised that they were from Public Health and they'd like an officer to attend to speak with me, who was refusing to wear a mask. That's not true, actually. I think I even showed him my exemption because it was 1 o'clock in the morning and I just wanted to get over that bridge. Like I had driven already 4 hours in the rain in the middle of the night in the middle of nowhere at that point. And I was extremely exhausted. I had traveled 19 hours that day, and it was the last 2 hours of my trip. And this person, the Border Services. And now the thing to note, and this is important, okay? This is important to note. The Border Services officer asked me if I wanted to speak with a public officer, and I said no, because he gave me the option. He said, would you like to speak with a public health officer? And I was like, no, actually. And so that was it. He didn't say, well, you have to. And then he started asking me questions and I didn't answer them. And I said, I'm not going to disclose my personal and confidential information with you. So then blah, 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 back and forth. And then he finally called the police and Huff showed up. And so she issued me a ticket or summons, sorry, under Section 15, Bracket 3, refusing to comply with a demand by a peace officer under the Quarantine Act. And why this is important and why you want to read your disclosure is what you're going to look for. You're going to look for a couple of things. Number one, make sure that they have all the information recorded correctly. You're going to look for inconsistencies in their notes, and I'm going to show you an inconsistency in a minute. But she's putting down she's putting down a summons for violating the Quarantine Act, Section 15, Bracket 3. And what she's noted is refusing to comply with the demand made by a peace officer under the Quarantine Act. Well, I'm going to show you guys under that section. Actually, I won't show you. I'll just tell you. Under that Section 15, Bracket 3 of the Quarantine Act, it actually doesn't say a peace officer. It says a quarantine officer and it says a screening officer. Nowhere does it say a peace officer. So, and actually I will show you guys because this is important, because when you go to court, these are the things that you can say, sorry, I was not properly informed of my charges. And you have 30 days, and this is something that I think we should add into the documentation, Amanda, is some of the key points, like with, and we'll get into more granular on this. But again, this is really high level, because this is just like, what the heck do you do? What the heck do you do when you get charged? And I know this can be a bit daunting, but in reality, when you just give yourself a minute to go and look and see what they're charging you with, and then you become more confident, because you become familiar. You read it yourself, and you know what, Kimberly can speak for this. As a matter of fact, Kimberly, do you want to speak to that? Because I know, like, we've been talking in the work that you've been doing, and now you're digging in and you're contacting me with criminal code and all kinds of stuff. So maybe you want to just share some of that while I pull up the Quarantine Act.
What do you want me to share?
Just what you're, because I've seen a big difference in how, when you had the lawyer, there was a lot of anxiety and you didn't know what was going on. You couldn't get a straight answer. And now that you've taken control of the situation, you're texting me criminal code sections going, hey, what about this? What about that? And would you have thought, like, before this happened, would you ever thought in your life that you would be in this position right now and feeling more confident? Like, I think you're feeling pretty, I know we still have things to work out.
Oh, yeah.
But there's a feeling of being in the driver's seat that you don't get.
Oh, hell no. I never, ever thought I would be going through this shit. Yeah. And I have criminal charges, people.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was charged with 1 count of causing a disturbance and 2 counts of assault. Yeah.
Yeah. And because you're doing the work, what you netted out is that, because you have the disclosure, you can see in the evidence that they have nothing on you.
But well, I had a benefit because I got my disclosure right away. I asked for it right away. So the lawyer I had was crap. A week before court, she decides, now it's time to talk to me. She couldn't answer any of my questions. She hadn't seen any of the videos. I absolutely know 100% she was going to make a deal, because I also figured it out, because she was saying she didn't know who they were calling. Well, hold on. Court's in 4 business days and you don't know who the witnesses are? How in the hell can you question them? And how can you question them when you don't even know anything that's going on? So there's just I never thought I would be here. Yeah, I'm still nervous because there's still a whole bunch of shit I got to learn.
Yeah.
But when she made this phone call 4 days before court, like working days, I had 20 questions. She couldn't answer any of them. She hadn't even gone over the videos. Didn't bother to ask me how to watch the videos when I already told her how. She didn't care. She didn't care. She had definitely made a deal. So no, I'm glad I'm doing this by myself, because it pinged on me. Oh my God, nobody knows what happened that day better than me.
Yep. And that's the thing. If you had gotten a lawyer and didn't get your disclosure, you wouldn't see the evidence that clearly indicates you're innocent. And as a matter of fact, they're guilty. And so then this is what I'm talking about, why it helps you to gain control over your case. So I'm going to show you.
Well, hold on. Not just that, because I was the one that gave her the disclosure. She was going to try to put it back into the courts. I'm going, no, don't think so. I gave you that. I want it back.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Kimberly. So I'm going to show you, I just want to show you guys this, okay? So I'm going to do a screen share again just quickly. And the point that I'm making here is that the police officers or the peace officers bylaw, sometimes they use the wrong codes, or they will omit codes. They'll make mistakes. And these mistakes can absolutely influence your case. So I was charged with failure to comply with an order from a peace officer under Section 15.3 of the Quarantine Act. Well, so this is duty to provide information. So it's Section 15, and so Section 15, but bracket 3. Every traveler shall comply with any reasonable measure ordered by a screening officer or quarantine officer for the purpose of preventing the introduction and spread of a communicable disease. It doesn't say peace officer. And I never talked to a quarantine officer, and I never talked to a screening officer. And now when you go to the top of the page and you read the description of a screening officer and a quarantine officer, guess what? It doesn't include a peace officer. So I wanted to show you guys that because I actually had charges dropped. I had Reopen Ontario violation, one for when we were doing arrest of the mayor, and one for protesting outside of the Peel District School Board. And Amanda and Jane, we were up till 1 o'clock in the morning on that one. And basically, the offense, what the charges weren't identified. So they said it was under the EMCPA and the ROA and a regulation, but it can't just be a regulation. It has to be on the section of the regulation. And you know, I think that we'll talk. This is like the first. This is the first session, guys. So we'll be doing another session on this one to get you guys more in depth on this. It's a lot in one time, and we wanted to break it down. But I wanted to explain to you why it's so important to get your disclosure and look through it. And now I want to show you guys something else that's really interesting with disclosure. So I got disclosure for another case, and I want to show you something. And this should raise flags for you guys when you're looking at your disclosure. So these are the notes. So this was in Niagara, and I violated the Reopening Ontario Act. And you see how this person actually did it correctly. She said it was the Reopening Ontario Act, Regulation 8220, Schedule 4, Section 1. So they are outlining exactly what the problem is, exactly what the violation is. It doesn't matter even if they got it right, because the Canadian Bill of Rights still protects us, okay? And there's case law that the provincial government cannot override our fundamental rights. There's lots of things to protect us. But these notes, okay, these notes are very suspect. Anybody could have written these notes. How do I know it's Michelle Brown? There's no date. She's attached these notes, which is usually like a notepad, like a long yellow notepad is what they write on. And my other disclosure, I wonder if I can show you. No, it's not here. In my other disclosure, which I can't show you right now because I need to find the section of it, the notes have the officer's name at the top and a date so that you can follow along with his notes. But how do I know this is Michelle Brown when she attached a business card and then put a date on it afterwards? How do I know these are her notes? And that is something to be concerned about, because if you are being charged with something, the person who's doing who's registering the charge should know exactly what you've done wrong and should be the one who witnessed it, not somebody else. So this is important to know. And these are some things just to look for in your disclosure. And this is exactly why you want to get it, because again, you may get your disclosure and you may think, you know what, I really need some help with this. So I'm going to get legal consult, not counsel, consult. And then you can work with a lawyer to help put your case together. But once you give that disclosure to a lawyer off the bat, you may not get it. It can be a real problem. So I just wanted to flag that, and I wanted to show you guys what disclosure looks like and some of the stuff that can be wonky in there. And these are things that you should immediately look for. Is, look for discrepancies, look to see what you're being charged under, go read those charges, and the other thing is too, I was identified through social media, and in one court case, the JP dismissed that ability to identify me through social media. Hi, I thought that was you. Hi Danielle. Yes, exactly. We're going through the same thing, because I'm still going through my Niagara one, and I was also identified through a video. And social media. And I did flag with the court that in my other case that the JP dismissed any of the recognition through social media. How do you request disclosure? That's a good call. That's a good question. So again, in the city that you're from, so if you're from the city of Windsor, as I mentioned, you would go to provincial offenses, and there's always an email POA, or they may have specific instructions. I think in in Toronto, they want you to do a form. Like it's hard to say this is how you do it because it can be different. But you need to go to the city, look for the provincial offenses, and all of the information will be in there. And you can you should be able to find what you need there, or call them and ask them. Just call POA and ask them. I'm going to go back to the site for just a quick second. Whoops, pulled up the wrong thing. And Amanda, I mean, jump in anytime.
You're doing such a good job. I'm just happy to monitor the chat, and
I think we're getting it under control, which is good. Okay. So responding to a ticket. So now you've been charged or got a summons. You get you request your disclosure. Now responding to a ticket. So, and I think actually we might want to reverse this, because you're going to respond to the ticket first, and then you're going to get your disclosure. But you have 15 days typically. It's actually more than 15 days, but I would just do it right away, because if you don't do something, i.e. tell them that you're going to fight it.
Rebecca,
Yeah.
sorry, just one more thing. I was trying to jump in. My thing's all frozen. I can't hit unmute or mute or my video or anything. There's a consent form that they're going to try to get you to fill out before you get your disclosure, and you do not have to fill out that consent form.
And that's not all cities too, eh? That's the thing. Like it's so,
that's and it's very. I know. I just wanted to touch base on that because it's very important. They're going to try to hold a tooth and nail, saying that they're not going to give you disclosure unless you sign your rights away with this it's like some kind of weird consent form. I've already received all my disclosure and everything. You do not have to fill out any form of consent form to receive disclosure that is that you're, in my opinion, owed. It's owed to you.
Yeah. Yeah, it is owed to you. You absolutely, the prosecutor or the Crown cannot proceed without disclosure, so neither can you. And actually, I already went to court for my summons for the quarantine, and I didn't have my disclosure, but I was like, I don't need it. And I got my disclosure, and it was exactly as I expected. And of course, the prosecutor wasn't ready. And guys, you'll find that happens quite often. So another thing to note is that the Crown, the prosecutor, or the JP or the judge in your first appearance may not be ready for you. So your first appearance is going to be where you state your plea, either guilty, not guilty, or for my cases, it's always been a motion to request or asking the court to dismiss my cases or dismiss the charges. And typically they don't expect that. They think that you're going to come in and say guilty or not guilty. Another thing to be aware of is that quite often in your first appearance, they want you to do early resolution. So they'll try to do things like, we'll set up a time for you to talk to the Crown and and they tried that with me, and I asked, okay, well, what would be the phone call? Well, you could do early resolution. And I was like, no, if I wanted early resolution, I would have checked that box on my ticket. I would like to go through to trial, please. So they may try and do that. And typically, like I said, if you're going to present a bit of an argument in your first appearance, which you can do, because if you're asking them to have the charges dropped, you need to tell them why. You'll usually get a response of, oh, I didn't read your disclosure, because they just don't expect us to do that. In terms of duration for getting your disclosure, it depends on what it is. It depends on how big your disclosure is. I had my quarantine, my summons last week, and I got it the following day. But then I think they may have, again, because it's by the municipality, they may have like a 1 week, a 5-day window, a 2-day window. I don't know. It will vary. But I would say 2 weeks maximum for them to get you those files. I would say, yes. By the way, resolution means you're guilty. When you say, when you make a deal, that means that's an admission of guilt. That's why you're taking that deal. You're going to save the court time by just admitting up front that you're guilty. So be aware of that. And we've even had people where the Crown said, or the prosecutor actually, oh no, you're not guilty. Yes, you are. So you are guilty.
And then they actually expect you to go up and they'll read the charges on the file and they'll say, how do you plead? And you say guilty with your head in shame. And then the judge is going to ask you, so just to understand, you do this voluntarily, you understand you have the right to a trial. They're going to ask you a bunch of questions because they have to under Section 45, subsection 3 of the Provincial Offences Act, have to go through the elements of the plea to ensure that you truly understand what you're admitting to.
Resolution means that you are taking a deal. So admit your guilt, and we'll drop. So say your fine could be $10,000. Say you're guilty, and we'll only charge you $1.
Rebecca, there's
So-
also one more thing that I've requested, and it's called exculpatory evidence. And that's all the evidence that's involved in your case that may prove you innocent, that you're not, unless you request it, you cannot get it. So that's called exculpatory evidence. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but it's something that I've requested, and they seem to respond to that term. The terminology that they use is kind of insane, but
Exculpatory, I think it is.
yes. That's also one thing that you can request that will help you.
So just, I'm going to interrupt here for a second. Where did you hear about exculpatory evidence, and what rule does it apply under? Because I'm just looking it up.
So I believe it was just something I came across my own research on evidence that's provided that's not in your disclosure. So I started looking at some of the different terminologies, and I'm not exactly the best with them, but it was something else that I came across that I kind of just started emailing to the Crown. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just going to qualify that, guys. I'm doing a really quick look here, search, and I haven't dug up the rule yet, but I think it applies to criminal charges, which would be relevant to Nick, because Nick has had some criminal charges apply to him. I don't know that exculpatory evidence applies to Provincial Offences Act. I'm going to do some more digging while Rebecca's talking.
Yeah, so it's to look to see tending to serving to clear from alleged fault or guilt. And sometimes exculpatory evidence will be withheld. So sometimes there's problems with the courts.
Yes. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, and I know that from watching a crime show. Yeah, I did. I watched a crime show. See, you can learn stuff from TV. Okay, let me go back. Okay. So responding to a ticket, now on the back it says 15 days, but I think you actually have 45 days or 30 days, but just do it right away. Just do it right away, so you don't have to worry about not doing it. And the next thing you know, you've got tickets that you didn't take care of. The summons, typically they're going to give you a date. And I shouldn't say that, because I've never actually received, I've never been handed a summons. I've received it through the mail. Did I get it through the mail? I think I got it through the mail once. And then another time they handed it to my Airbnb guest, which was fantastic. At least we're here. Anyway, so it already had a date on it, but should you get a summons and there's no date, then you contact the POA immediately and tell them that you need a date. Or if you have a date and you cannot make that date, you call them immediately. It's important that you communicate with the courts. And if something happens and you need to change a court date and you can't make yourself available, call them immediately, because they're not going to want to afford you a lot of time. To be quite frank, they're going to want to. They're like, if it's booked, then they're going to expect you to go. Why is it that I can always tell when these people come in that they're going to be assholes, and then they come in anyway? It's like I have this gaydar, or there's annoying person radar, and then I don't act on it because I'm too nice. So honk honk, Becca. Yeah, you know what? That was a honk for the trucker convoy. Thank you. Boop boop.
See how quick I got them out, though?
Yeah, you were lightning fast, Amanda. That was good. So your first appearance. Now, I think some stuff got cut off here when I was transposing it over, and I apologize, guys, because I wanted to have like all of the different appearances. So I'll have that updated for you. But your first appearance that's where you go in, like I said, and you're going to negotiate. You're going to state your case and to discuss it. That's going to go forward in the trial. And I actually got really snarky because the one time I went to court and they weren't ready for me. Neither the JP nor the prosecutor had read my disclosure, And I went in and they were trying to make me do early resolution, and they were talking about somebody else's case who was charged with me. And it was just like, it was very, they were just being very annoying. And I got very upset with them and said, look, that I said to them, you know, I came prepared and you didn't. And I expect this isn't going to happen again. And and I told them, you're going to waste the court's time by moving forward with the trial. They did anyway. And then it actually went to pretrial. And then when I went to pretrial, the JP dismissed without chance, because there was no chance of conviction. So it's okay to you know, stand up for yourself. You just obviously want to be professional in any way that you're speaking with the court. So I'm going to talk about court etiquette, and this is really important because you know, I think Amanda and I, we've been on the court when in court when some folks were live streaming their court. And guess what, guys? They have administrators watching your files, watching your profiles, especially if you're somebody who is well known, like if you are somebody who's in a group and you're kind of in a leader position, or if you're someone who speaks a lot and you're engaged with the community. When you're in that courtroom, they're going to have somebody looking at your social media accounts and watching you. And we've seen it happen twice now. And both times, both of these people were this close to getting a contempt charge. And if you get a contempt charge for that, what are you going to say? So, you know, be professional at all times. You are in a formal court proceeding. So one thing to know is so this is some court etiquette. First of all, be prepared. Read your file, make notes, write it out, study it, so that when you go in there, you feel confident, because it really is a confidence game. That's what it comes down to. It's just like public speaking. If you know the subject that you've got, that you're going to be discussing, then you're going to be comfortable with it. And so that's what you need to do, is you need to go in there feeling comfortable and confident. And so another thing that I like to do is have paper and pen with me, because sometimes what we do is we have a tendency, because when we hear something that's wrong, we want to jump on it. So write it down so that you can address it when it's appropriate, so you're not talking over people. And remember, you're going to be visible to others because you have to turn on your video. They have to see who you are. So make sure you're presentable, you know, like don't wear a fuck Trudeau shirt. I had to say it. You know, be presentable just like you would if you were in the courtroom, because it's the exact same thing. It's just digital. And again, it goes back to having the pen and paper. Avoid interrupting others. So when you're in the courtroom, have your pen and paper, take down notes as they're speaking so that you can respond. You can have a rebuttal. You can have have your offense, whatever it is, but you do it when it's appropriate for you to talk. And if you address the court in a respectful fashion, then you're going to get a lot more respect from the court than just like, no, that's not right. No, that's not right. You know, you got to win this by rising above. You know, we have to show them that we're professionals and that we're intelligent people, because we are. That's why we're here, because we see the truth. Again, do not do a live. Do not do anything like that, because you will get yourself in shit. And now I'm not going to say Your Honor. I have a big problem with that. I do not want to use the word Your Honor. So I actually had a conversation with Jane to ask her, how should I address the court? Because I wasn't sure how I should do that. And so no, I'm not going to do Your Worship. I'm not doing any of that. So I say, may I address the court? And that's when and then they'll say yes, and I speak, because I'm just not going to say, it's not a judge, it's a JP. I just say, may I address the court? That's all you have to say, guys. May I address the court? I would like to address the court, whatever it is. And that's worked. No one gets upset about that. It's fine. And then again, you know, avoid interrupting, being rude, shouting, show respect, get respect. So we do have a couple of scripts, and we are working on a series of scripts for you guys. And I'll just show you one of the scripts. This is for travel. And we've had people use this verbatim, literally. And when I first did my self-representation, I literally was going, I am requesting that the charges against me be dropped. And there's nothing wrong with that. Remember, lawyers write down their shit. They come in and things are prepared. They're not going off the top of their head. Everything is written down, just like you would when you're in a presentation. Have your notes with you. So this is just what you can use, and this is just as an example. And this is exactly what I do when I go to court. I write out exactly what I'm going to say, and maybe I'll write it out a few times so that when I go in the courtroom, I'm not struggling and I feel confident, because again, this is a confidence game. So I'm requesting that the charges against me be dropped because of the actions of the Ministry of Health public officer in issuing me a fine for refusing the PCR test violates the Quarantine Act, Section 14, and both the PCR and quarantine violate my rights as per the Canadian Bill of Rights. And then you can talk about the Quarantine Act section with the screening technology, where it says using screening technology authorized by the minister that does not involve the entry into the traveler's body of any instrument or other foreign body. Okay. And then furthermore, the use of the PCR test in this application violates Bill S-201, So you can just read this and create your own script as well. So you take these scripts, but you need to modify them just like a notice of liability. For example, maybe it was a peace officer, or maybe it wasn't Ministry of Health, like whoever it was, a screening officer, a quarantine officer, whoever it was that gave you the ticket. You modify this for you, or you create your own, because there may not be a script available for you. So that I'm going to talk a little bit more, because I think it did get cut off, just like in terms of the court process. So there's going to be your first appearance, guys. After you do your first appearance and they decide that they're going to move forward with your case, the next thing after that would be you're going to do a pretrial. And here's something interesting about a pretrial, in a particular judicial pretrial. If you have a legal representative, you will not be part of that meeting. So you don't know what they're saying. I'm going to stop screen sharing now, because I think we've covered consultation, legal counsel, someone to represent you, so a legal representative. Then, or I should say legal counsel, because you can have a legal representative with you in a court proceeding, but don't. I don't know why, they just don't. So don't be surprised if you do have a lawyer and there's a judicial pretrial that you got, and then you're not privy. Okay, so you don't know what they're going to say to you, what they're going to say to the conversation they're going to have. A lot of stuff that goes on that you don't know about when you are using. Yeah.
Can I just people I had authorized as my agents with me, and they kicked them out of my apartment.
Yeah, for the pretrial, right? For the pretrial,
yes, exactly.
Danielle? Yeah. So yeah, they won't allow people in the pretrial. So don't be surprised if that happens. And that's why, again, like when you do self-representation, and I didn't really talk about this in the beginning, but I will now. So there's a difference between having legal counsel and legal consultation. Legal counsel is somebody who will be your representative, and they'll speak on your behalf, and they'll drive your position. And legal consultation is where you work with somebody who is going to, you can consult with them. They're not going to represent you, but you're going to have conversations with them. You can ask them questions. They can give you advice. They can help build your case. You can basically do everything that you with a consultation and more, because you are still going to represent yourself, and you don't have, they're not going to be held to the bar. So they may actually be able to give you better advice because they're doing it in the background. Nobody knows. You're not going to disclose who your legal consultation is, or at least you shouldn't, because then that way that person can have you got him, eh?
I did.
You were fast on
I
that
did.
one.
Actually, that's the same guy who wrote that letter that I told you about this morning. Remember, I told you about someone sending a letter?
Oh, I don't remember, Amanda.
No worries.
Between this morning and today was a lifetime. Right now, this moment was a lifetime. Beam him up, that Scotty. Yeah. I just realized Jane's not here. Where is Jane? I'm gonna pause because I just realized Jane's not here. Hold on one second. And actually, if Amanda or Jane, Amanda, if you want to speak to that a little bit, I'm gonna call her and find out where she is.
So, I'm sorry.
Are you reading the chat and laughing at the chat?
Well, no, actually, I was reading that letter from Scotty, the concerned citizen.
Oh,
so
yes,
apparently I'm a criminal and I'm attached to a trio of criminals.
Is that right now? Did he write that?
So folks, you know you're doing something right when they start attacking, and I don't sit here and promote what I do for a living because I'm not trying to generate business, but someone has obviously looked me up. They figure out what I've done for a living. They sent an email off to the people that they think have authority over me to inform that I'm a criminal and I may have some severe legal liabilities to their company, yada, yada, yada. And I think he thought he was going to get me into trouble. As it stands out, I got a call this morning. They said, you know what? We don't really care. So it's kind of humorous, but yeah, I haven't done anything wrong. And I just, it's annoying more than anything, but at the same time, you know what? I'll deal with it. But
yeah. And actually, somebody made a good point in the chat. They said a legal representative does not speak for you; they speak as you. Oh, there's Jane. I hope this is Jane. We'll see.
Yeah, right.
Let's see. Wait, Jane.
She did just unmute. Okay. Jane, are you going to speak?
Little bastards, eh? Oh, they're so cute. Oh, they're entertaining. Jane does like music, guys. She likes that song. It's the sound of the police. Mask for the rest of their lives. So after your first hearing, you state your and you may not. I'm done with this game, Amanda. I'm just over these people. Oh, she's jumping on now. Shit, now we're gonna have another Jane scarf coming on. So then you'll have your second appearance is going to be a pretrial for the judge or JP or judge to determine if there's enough evidence on both sides to continue. And then from there, you're going to go to a case management court to schedule your trial. And scheduling the trial is a few different things. So scheduling the trial is the duration. No, so it's you're going to find a date and time. You're going to find a duration. So how long should it be? And that will depend on the number of witnesses. It will depend on the complexity of the case. This is probably Jane. We'll have to roll the dice and let her in.
That's okay. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. And so you'll work that out, and you want to give yourself a little more time. So if like 1 to 3 days for POA, criminal charges, that's completely different. I don't want to give too much advice on that or direction on that, but that's definitely case by case. and I should have stated up front, and I'm going to state it now. Nothing we're giving, no information that we're giving here is legal advice. This is just information sharing. I should have stated this up front, but I just to know, like we are, don't worry. I told Rico.
Tell me what you like about emotional.
Okay, I gotta tell Jane that when she comes on to not use her name or to tell me.
Oh, now I'm coming on.
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm gonna call her and just tell her.
They're doing the same thing to the courts, Rebecca.
Okay, Jane's here. Hi, Jane.
Hi.
How you doing? Okay. All right. So, and then you have your trial. And again, guys, we're here to support you guys if you need help for your trial. We do ask that you do. We're not going to do work for you. We're not here to give you, a free lawyer. That's not what we're going to do. But we will absolutely help you. We'll help you read through, like if you have questions over your disclosure, if you have, technical questions. But, much like Kimberly's doing, Kimberly is taking charge. She's reading she's reading through her evidence. She's taking the time to read through criminal code. She's taking time to learn, and that's all we have to do. Because when you start doing that and you put yourself in the driver's seat, it's a completely different world. It's a game changer. And now I'm at a point where I've only been to court. This is probably like 5th or 6th time. And I used to be so nervous, you guys, so incredibly nervous that I would just get like tongue twisted and I would get snarky and defensive. And now it's just like, yeah, okay, well, no, actually, this is the deal. And you're just having a conversation and you're stating your position. And you're going to be prepared and you're going to state your position with information and facts. And you just remember that these are humans doing their job. They're nobody special. They're no one above you. They're not. Oh, I'll put that in the chat, Curtis. Good question. They're not anyone special. They're just other humans doing their job. Okay. So, oh, these people. You know what? I'm not letting any more people in, Amanda.
All right.
It's recorded. Because it's the same person just changing their name 100 times, and that's just I'm over it. So let's open up the floor for questions. So folks, if you have any questions, just please put your hand up, and we will get to you as you go up. So Sybil. Oh, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
You're unmuted, but I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Oh.
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
Good.
Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. See you. See me. Okay. So I'm talking criminal now because it's a criminal case. In my case, it was for demonstrating against the curfew in Quebec. So I went to court. The judge said I was guilty. Then I sent in an appeal, and now the prosecutor sent a motion to dismiss my appeal summarily. And now this prosecutor is claiming that I should have the Court of Appeal in Montreal that I sent this all to. She said this should have gone directly to the Supreme Court. But I guess my question is, I was supposed to be in court this Wednesday for the sentencing, and it's very close. Should I just wait? Should I just wait what the Court of Appeal says?
Yeah. So you were charged and you were found guilty? So
Yeah.
you're being sentenced.
Yeah, so I was found guilty, yeah, and they gave me a date for the sentencing, which is this Wednesday. But I'd sent in an appeal in the meantime, which I did submit on time. It was just like barely on time, but it was on time. I did also request disclosure, but that I haven't received that yet.
How did you get, whoa, hold on a second. How did you go through your trial if you didn't have disclosure?
Well, see, I'm totally new to this, so I didn't know that I could have or should have requested it. Actually, in the trial, I asked for it, and they said that there was no disclosure, but that's what I claimed in my appeal was an error in law. But anyway, but
okay, so Jane.
Primarily, how did you plead? Like, what was your defense for the charge?
I said it's against the Bill of Rights of
yes,
and against the charter of the Quebec Charter.
Yep.
Yeah, good. Okay, that's a good defense.
But my main mistake was that I was in Quebec anyway. Anyone who's questioning the operability and constitutionality and something else of the law should have notified the judge within 30 days prior to the hearing.
The Attorney General, I think it was.
Yes, exactly.
The Attorney General.
And I had no idea that this was. I had no, like, it didn't even occur to me that any such thing could have existed. So I didn't do that. I just more or less showed up in court and saying, this is my argument. So that they can say to me, well, whatever it is you're saying is
well,
yeah.
Actually, you don't have.
Oh, Jane, you're muted.
Okay, you don't have to notify anybody of the Bill of Rights, so.
But how
just the charter.
Okay.
So they can't dismiss your bill arguments.
But I am questioning the operability of a law. So they're saying whenever I am questioning the operability and of the Quebec Public Health Act.
Okay, listen to me.
Yeah.
When you're using the charter, the Quebec Charter.
Yes.
And you're using the Quebec Charter to question the validity of law, then you have to serve the Attorney General. But not when you use the Bill of Rights. You can criticize, you can challenge the operability of a law without notifying anybody. So they can dismiss your charter arguments, your Quebec Charter arguments, but they cannot dismiss your Canadian Bill of Rights.
Oh, interesting.
And I don't care what you think they said, but whatever they said, it did not include the Canadian Bill of Rights, because you do not have to provide any notice for that. And it wouldn't be, well, in Quebec you do. No, nowhere do you need to do that.
Okay. That's good to know. So basically, I just have to wait on, I mean, the Court of Appeal now may say, okay, we're going to dismiss your case, or they may say, you're just out of luck. We're not granting your request for appeal and you're guilty. They could be saying that.
Yeah. Sybil, have you received your transcripts yet?
No.
Okay. So I wouldn't but you did, because I told you to make sure to get your notice of appeal in. You got the notice of appeal in?
Oh yeah. I got that in on time. Okay. And on the same day I sent out a request for disclosure to the court.
So
wait a minute. It's not the request for disclosure. You have to send a request for transcripts, and you have to send the court proof that you sent a request for the transcript in order to affect your appeal.
Okay, you mean I should have the court of appeal?
You
okay,
filed
yeah.
a notice to appeal and you served it to the prosecution and you filed it with the court, correct?
No, I only sent it to the Court of Appeal because in Quebec, that's the procedure. But obviously the prosecutor got it because she's responded.
Yeah, but they have to get the certificate of where you're requesting the transcript, because they have to have a transcript in order to process an appeal. So they have to have proof that a transcript has been requested.
Okay, I forget what it's called in Quebec, if it's disclosure or transcript. It may be called this transcript, yes. And I requested that not with registered mail. I just requested it by a regular letter to the court here in Sherbrooke, Quebec. So, and the Court of Appeals does not know about this. Yeah.
Okay, so so you requested. See, when you're saying disclosure, you're saying that what you're meaning is the transcript.
I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was confused as how you could have gone through the court without having your disclosure, because the disclosure, as we covered, that's what you used. That's what you use to understand the charges against you, and what the evidence is against you. So that's something that you would get in the beginning before you even go to court. Be the first step, right? Go through your court proceeding. Either you are found guilty or not, or it's dismissed or whatever it is. And in your case, if it was found guilty, then at this point you'd be looking for the transcripts, because you should have already had the disclosure, or else how did you go through the court case without the disclosure?
In my case, I mean, what happened in my case is actually pretty simple. There's a curfew back, and I went to demonstrate against the curfew. So it was like, I demonstrated and they gave me a ticket. It was like,
okay. So I can answer this very quickly, Rebecca. I was talking to Sybil before her case, and I had asked her if she'd asked for disclosure yet, and she said no. So I said to her, when you go into court tomorrow, let them know that you haven't yet, that that she wants to ask for disclosure, and she hasn't yet asked for disclosure. She walked into court. She says, I haven't received disclosure yet. I would like to request disclosure. And the justice said to her, no, your ticket is all you get. You don't get disclosure, right, and proceeded with the trial. That was the end of it. And I told you about this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they jumped right to the trial that minute.
How?
Even though and this is why I said to her, file your notice of appeal immediately, get that in, get that filed, get that on the record, order your transcripts, because that right off the top is your first error in law. You have a right to disclosure in order to determine the elements of the case.
There's got to be rules of civil procedure for Quebec.
There is, and Sybil's part of the Quebec group, so they are working on it. But I'll be honest, I haven't actually been following up with them the last week or so as tightly as I have been. At some point, we're going to have another Quebec group meeting, because they're going to have to talk us through what they have and haven't found. But again, my biggest concern, Sybil, was that whether or not you had your appeal filed, your notice of appeal filed. And as Jane has said, it sounds like you need to let them know that you have to show them proof that you filed for your transcripts.
There's likely a form for that. There's likely a form for that.
Okay, and then when the
certificate of evidence, I think it's called.
What's that, Jane? Called what?
I think it's called certificate of evidence.
Okay. Did you get that, Sybil? Certificate of evidence?
Yeah, I did hear it. Yeah.
So, but here's the thing. And I've said this to you before. Study the rules of civil procedure, that version in Quebec. Don't try and get too ahead of yourself, because until you get those transcripts in and you identify the errors in law, there's not a whole lot you can do, because when you file an appeal, you are going to address and speak to the errors in law, and you need to be able to prove those errors in law, that's what the purpose of the transcript is to show what was said, who said what, who did what, and why is there an error in law. You're not getting a new trial. You have to address the errors in law, and then you have to prove those errors in law did affect the outcome of your trial. For instance, they didn't give you a disclosure and you had announced you wanted to request disclosure.
Yep.
Also, for procedural matters, I think you have the case law that shows that they're supposed to be advising her of procedural matters. So if she needed to give notice to the Attorney General, then they should have told her that. They don't have to tell a lawyer, they don't have to tell a paralegal, but they have to tell self-represented.
Yeah, I mean, I said that much in my appeal, actually, as one reason they could have or should have been more instructive about this.
Yeah.
And I was expecting more lenience, I said, and all this kind of stuff. So that I had explained. But I'm just all of a sudden, I was like, I didn't like, basically, if the prosecutor is right, I should have not even bothered with the Court of Appeal in Montreal. I should have just gone straight to the Supreme Court. Does that make sense?
No.
Okay.
These
Thank you.
people are like, yeah. When you get the transcripts, then you'll be able to see the error. And I want to see like, if you've asked for your disclosure, I'm just perplexed how you went straight to trial. How did they even know that?
Because I mean, I was like, because I'm totally new to all this, I just like, okay, I got a ticket. And yes, it is true that I'm aware that there was some such thing as a Public Health Act. And I knew I was in violation of that since I was demonstrating there, after the curfew. So, I mean, I was aware that I was in violation of this law. I mean, but
they're in violation of your rights. So you got to remember that.
Oh, of course. So but
that mindset is you didn't do anything wrong. They did something wrong. You were exercising your rights.
Of course. Oh, I know.
You didn't do anything wrong. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But I mean, the thing is, in terms of the events, it's not a complicated case in terms of the events, because it was like they even told us before.
But here's the thing: it doesn't need to be complicated, because I'm going to go back to the last two charges I had withdrawn.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't complicated at all. I was filing the Reopen Ontario Act. The thing is, they didn't properly identify my charges. So it doesn't have to be complicated. When I got my disclosure, I discussed, which says that they have to identify your charges in a promptly. So this is the thing. This is actually a really good point, because I think that we have in our minds, and that's probably from shows like Law and Order, where we have this perception of it's just a small thing, so it's just going to go through. Well, no, it's just because there's an order doesn't mean that it's lawful. Okay, so we have to kind of change our thinking a little bit, and that we aren't the ones breaking the law. We're the ones who are what am I trying to say here?
Those are rinky-dinky bylaws.
Yeah, but we're the ones that are upholding our rights. We're the ones that are standing up for our rights. And it's even strategic to do that. Like, for example, what I did on Saturday, I did that for a purpose. I didn't expect to get handcuffed, but I did it for a purpose. And so when you get your disclosure, again, I got my charges dismissed because in my disclosure, they had the regulation, but not the section of not the subsection of the regulation. Therefore, they didn't identify what offense I committed. So see you later. So I had my charges dropped. So we have to have the mindset of, it doesn't matter how big or small it is. None of us should be found guilty when we didn't do something wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Sybil?
And rinky-dinky bylaws is what we're looking at, which are not capable of the notification to the Attorney General of Quebec for
stated that the Bill of Rights is exempt from that Attorney General 30-day thing, or is it?
Why would it have
like a charter challenge?
Excuse me?
I'm missing that. The 30-day thing. What is this?
Questioning the operability, that my defense is based like, you know, I was said I'm out there, but the thing is, my defense is based on I'm questioning the operability of the Public Health Act or a section thereof. So I'm questioning the constitutionality and the operability.
Okay. So you're Jane. She's talking the difference between a constitutional challenge and using law.
No,
Oh,
she's not.
okay.
She's
Okay.
talking about the Quebec Charter of Rights.
The Quebec Charter.
And I'm trying to say there's a difference between using the Quebec Charter of Rights and using Canadian Bill of Rights. And you don't look for a section in the Canadian Bill of Rights that exempts you from anything. You would look to see if there's a section requiring you to do something. And if it doesn't say you're required in Quebec right in it, then you're not, because they can't have categories of people treating them differently. So in Ontario, you don't have to give notice of the Canadian Bill of Rights, but in Quebec you do. I don't think so.
No.
That would be a violation of the Canadian Bill of Rights, Section 1B.
Yep.
Okay.
Categories of people.
So, Sybil, we're going to have to move on.
Okay,
There's
that's
other people
fine.
with their hands up.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you. Those are really good points. So I wanted to hear that, and I wanted other people to hear that as well. So thank you. Kimberly, hi. Did you need to put your hand back up, Sybil?
I found a little juicy tidbit.
Uh-huh.
This is what I've got done so far.
Okay.
In this statement or witness statement, in this